In a small, secluded town, nestled amidst thick, dark woods, a curious discovery was made. The town of Whisperbrook, forgotten by time and scarcely visited by outsiders, held secrets that even the most intrepid explorers dared not uncover. Whispers of an enigmatic and forbidden artifact reached the ears of a group of adventurous teenagers, a relic spoken of only in hushed tones, the Grimoire of Eclipses. Perched atop a rocky hill, an ancient mansion loomed like a watchful sentinel over the town. Its crumbling facade bore the scars of untold years, and locals shunned it, believing malevolent spirits claimed it as their haunt. Yet, on one fateful night, a ferocious storm howled through Whisperbrook, lighting up the sky with electric flashes. It was under this tempestuous cloak that fate guided the teenagers to the mansion's shadowy doorway. Drawn by an inexplicable force, they crossed the threshold into a forgotten world of bygone grandeur and eerie echoes. As they roamed through dust-covered halls, they sensed a pulse, a heartbeat of something ancient and unsettling. They stumbled upon a hidden chamber, concealed behind a frayed tapestry depicting a strange rite. The Grimoire of Eclipses lay within, waiting for curious hands to unveil its enigmas. The book's presence exuded an otherworldly aura, tinged with a spectral chill that set their hearts racing with a mix of excitement and trepidation. The leather-bound cover bore peculiar symbols etched with precision, each stroke seemingly whispering arcane secrets to those who dared to gaze upon them. The scent of old parchment and ink hung in the air, mingling with the damp musk of ageless secrets. Fear intermingled with curiosity as they gingerly opened the tome, revealing pages filled with esoteric engravings, accompanied by cryptic writings in an ancient script that danced like spectral spectacles before their eyes. Legends of the grimoire echoed through their minds, the stories of power-hungry sorcerers who had vanished without a trace and ambitious seekers who had paid the ultimate price for daring to wield the magic inscribed within. With trembling hands, they turned the pages, their eyes darting across spells that promised dominion over time, shadows that whispered of evoking forgotten entities, and sigils that held the key to unlocking the gates between worlds. It was a forbidden dance with the unknown, and a wave of apprehension washed over them, for they knew that dabbling with such arcane forces could have dire consequences. The room seemed to grow darker as the shadows danced and twisted around them. The chill intensified, seeping into their very bones, as if the mansion itself warned them of the dangers that lay ahead. But their youthful curiosity and desire for adventure fueled their resolve, and they couldn't resist the temptation to uncover the mysteries the grimoire held. Time seemed to blur as they delved deeper into the secrets of the book, losing track of the storm's relentless fury outside. Unaware of the haunting whispers that echoed through the mansion's halls, they remained entranced by the Grimoire of Eclipses, unknowingly sealing their fates by daring to unearth the dark and sinister knowledge it concealed. Little did they know that they were about to set in motion a chain of events that would awaken an ancient evil long dormant, and their lives would never be the same again. Intrigued and excited, the group gathered in the attic of the mansion to decipher the cryptic instructions within the grimoire. The attic, once an archive of forgotten memories, now transformed into an eerie chamber, bathed in the eerie glow of black candles and the faint luminescence of the blood-red moon that seeped through the dusty windows. The pages of the Grimoire of Eclipses seemed to come alive, the ink shifting like living shadows as they read aloud the words of the first ritual. The incantation was written in a language that felt alien to their tongues, ancient syllables that reverberated through the chamber with a dissonant melody that sent shivers down their spines. As they prepared for the ritual, a sense of trepidation and anticipation hung in the air like a thick fog, yet they pressed on, driven by their shared curiosity and youthful bravado. The atmosphere crackled with an eerie energy, as though unseen eyes observed their every move from the darkness. In the center of the room, they carefully laid out the implements required for the summoning, a tarnished silver chalice filled with ruby-red liquid, a blade that gleamed like starlight, and a parchment inscribed with arcane symbols that seemed to writhe like living serpents. The bravest among them volunteered to offer their blood as a sacrifice, and a deep silence descended upon the attic as the ritual began. A moment of hesitation flickered in their eyes, but they suppressed their fear, their palms tightly clutching the hilt of the blade. With a swift incision, a crimson droplet fell into the chalice, merging with the enigmatic liquid within. The room seemed to pulse with newfound life, as though the mansion itself were awakening from a long slumber. The symbols on the parchment glowed with an eerie hue, and the candles flickered erratically, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Their hearts pounded in their chests as they recited the incantation, their voices trembling but steadfast. The syllables felt unnatural on their tongues, as though they were speaking words not meant for mortal lips. With each verse, the darkness seemed to draw closer, wrapping itself around them like an unseen cloak. And then, as if answering their call, a bone-chilling wind swept through the attic, extinguishing the candles in a violent gust. The air grew heavy with anticipation, and the very floor beneath them seemed to vibrate with a strange energy. Amidst the darkness, a form began to materialize, a shadowy silhouette with crimson eyes that seemed to pierce through their souls. It emanated a palpable aura of malevolence, and an ethereal voice whispered cryptic promises that sent shivers down their spines. Time seemed to distort, stretching infinitely as they stood before the entity they had summoned, the Whispering Shadow. Fear coiled like a venomous serpent in their hearts, and they felt an overwhelming sense of dread as the presence of the Whispering Shadow enveloped them, suffocating them with its sinister essence. The teenagers exchanged uneasy glances, their bravado now replaced with raw terror. They had unwittingly unlocked a doorway to realms beyond their comprehension, and the price of their curiosity was beginning to reveal itself. As the Whispering Shadow lingered, its ominous presence haunting the attic like an unseen specter, they knew that the horrors they had unleashed could never be undone. The summoning of the Whispering Shadow had awakened an ancient force that now clung to the teens like a malevolent specter, its tendrils stretching beyond the confines of the mansion and reaching into the very fabric of their lives. Their once cheerful days now turned bleak, as an unrelenting sense of foreboding shadowed their every step, leaving them in a perpetual state of unease. Unseen eyes watched them from the shadows, and chilling whispers echoed in their minds, driving them to the brink of madness. Every creak of the floorboards, every gust of wind, seemed to carry the voice of the Whispering Shadow, taunting them with cryptic messages that planted seeds of discord and suspicion among the group. The mansion itself appeared to take on a life of its own, an entity possessed by the malevolence of the ancient evil they had unwittingly unleashed. Objects moved on their own, unexplained drafts of icy air swept through closed rooms, and the walls seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy that sent shivers down their spines. Ominous symbols began to manifest on the walls, etched into the aged woodwork by invisible hands, symbols that seemed to writhe and change form as if imbued with a sinister sentience. The once grand mansion, now a labyrinth of terror, seemed to be morphing into a macabre canvas of the horrors that lurked within. Sleep brought no relief, for in their dreams, they were tormented by haunting visions and blood-curdling screams. Nightmares entwined with reality, blurring the line between wakefulness and slumber, leaving them exhausted and teetering on the precipice of sanity. As days turned into nights and nights into days, paranoia set in, and the unbreakable bond that once bound them together began to unravel. They turned on each other, each harboring suspicions of the others being pawns of the Whispering Shadow, manipulated to further its malevolent agenda. Their once vibrant laughter was replaced by hushed whispers and wary glances. The very essence of the mansion seemed to feed off their fear, like a malevolent entity savoring its prey's terror, drawing power from their fraying nerves. In an attempt to break free from the clutches of the haunting, they sought refuge in the town, only to find that the sinister influence of the Whispering Shadow had permeated even the seemingly serene streets. Every face they encountered seemed distorted by hidden malice, every alley and corner harbored lurking shadows that seemed to mock their feeble escape attempts. As days turned into an interminable nightmarish cycle, they sought solace in the reassuring presence of sunlight, only to find that the Whispering Shadow's influence did not wane with the dawn. Instead, it lay dormant, biding its time, awaiting the cloak of darkness to resume its relentless torment. The once resilient teenagers were now but hollow shells of their former selves, trapped in a hellish existence from which there seemed to be no escape. Their once rosy dreams of adventure had shattered, replaced by the haunting nightmare of their own making. They realized too late the cost of tampering with forces beyond human comprehension. The Sinister Summoning had irrevocably altered the course of their lives, and they were condemned to bear the weight of their folly for eternity. Realizing the grave mistake they had made, the remaining teenagers sought the help of an elderly recluse known for his knowledge of the occult. Mr. Abernathy, a hermit who had lived on the outskirts of town for decades, was rumored to have encountered dark forces in his youth, and his isolation only fueled the tales of his arcane expertise. The journey to Mr. Abernathy's dwelling was an arduous one, as they navigated dense forests that seemed to whisper of their impending doom. The ancient trees stood like silent sentinels, their gnarled branches entwined like skeletal fingers reaching out to ensnare any who dared tread their path. With each step, the weight of their actions bore down upon them, like a heavy burden dragging them deeper into a nightmarish abyss. Doubts gnawed at their resolve, and the daunting realization of the perilous quest ahead loomed like a specter in their minds. When they finally reached Mr. Abernathy's dwelling, a decrepit cottage with a thatched roof and crooked windows, the air seemed to grow colder, as though the very atmosphere recognized the presence of the ancient evil that lingered upon them. The door creaked open with a spine-chilling groan, and the smell of must and dried herbs greeted them as they stepped inside. The elderly recluse, cloaked in shadows, appeared before them like a figure from a forgotten legend. His eyes, pools of wisdom and sorrow, bore witness to a lifetime of encounters with the supernatural. He listened attentively to their tale, and as they spilled their hearts and confessed their grave mistake, his face betrayed a mixture of empathy and concern. With reluctance, Mr. Abernathy agreed to assist them, understanding the gravity of the situation and the dangers that lay ahead. From his vast collection of ancient tomes and relics, he retrieved a tattered and age-worn grimoire, its pages filled with knowledge that seemed to seep from a time beyond time. The grimoire, as thick as the shadows that cloaked it, contained the answers they so desperately sought, a series of dangerous tasks that would appease the whispering shadow and perhaps reverse the summoning. Each task was a perilous endeavor, requiring courage and sacrifice, with the hope of restoring the balance they had disrupted. Their quest led them to remote corners of the world, each destination seemingly more foreboding than the last. They traversed treacherous terrains, facing elemental challenges that tested the very core of their beings. In dark, labyrinthine catacombs, they encountered restless spirits that sought to deter them from their path. At every turn, they encountered malevolent entities guarding the sacred artifacts required for the rituals. Each confrontation left them with wounds, both physical and spiritual, yet they pressed on, their determination fueled by the shared desire to undo the harm they had caused. Time seemed to lose its meaning as they journeyed through forgotten temples and ancient burial grounds, seeking relics of immense power. With each step, they drew closer to their goal, yet the horrors they faced only intensified, like a storm gathering strength on the horizon. The weight of their mistakes hung heavily upon them, and the bond that had once united them served as the sole beacon of hope in a world consumed by darkness. The horrors they encountered were but shadows of the malevolence they had summoned, yet with each trial overcome, a glimmer of courage pierced through the despair. Through perseverance, self-sacrifice, and a newfound unity, they gathered the final artifact, the key to their salvation. But the knowledge that the whispering shadow would not easily relinquish its hold gnawed at their resolve, and the path ahead seemed more treacherous than ever before. With the ancient grimoire as their guide and their trust in each other as their anchor, the teenagers embarked on the final leg of their desperate quest. The looming confrontation with the whispering shadow awaited them, a chilling encounter that would test the very limits of their strength, faith, and friendship. As the group returned with the final artifact, their weary faces showed the marks of their harrowing journey, the lines of exhaustion etched deep, and their eyes shimmering with a mix of trepidation and determination. The artifact, an ancient talisman forged from starlight and shadow, seemed to hum with power as they held it in trembling hands. With the weight of their perilous quest upon their shoulders, they prepared for the ultimate confrontation with the Whispering Shadow. Each of them wore amulets crafted by Mr. Abernathy himself, protective charms designed to shield them from the malevolent force that had tormented them for days. Though their fears were far from abated, the companionship they shared and their unyielding will to make amends bolstered their resolve. Guided by the wisdom within the grimoire, they found themselves standing once more in the attic of the mansion where the nightmare had begun. The air felt heavy, thick with anticipation, as they laid out the final pieces of the ritual, their trembling hands carefully arranging the sacred artifacts around the room. With hearts pounding in unison, they initiated the ritual, their voices steady and resolute this time, as if they had grown accustomed to the ancient incantation. The echoes of their words reverberated through the mansion, and the very walls seemed to lean closer, as if eager to witness the end of this dark chapter. As they chanted, the atmosphere began to shift, a mingling of oppressive darkness and vibrant light, like a cosmic clash of opposing forces. The candles flickered wildly, throwing erratic shadows on the walls, as though the spirits of the mansion itself responded to the impending confrontation. Within the room, a kaleidoscope of emotions danced on their faces, the memories of their carefree days now intertwined with the harrowing moments that had tested their mettle. They had become warriors of light, facing the abyss with courage they never knew they possessed. And then, just as hope seemed to falter, the room erupted in a blinding burst of light, so intense that it engulfed everything around them, momentarily disorienting their senses. The mansion groaned, and the walls seemed to shudder as though buckling under the weight of ancient magic. In that blinding brilliance, the Whispering Shadow let out a deafening screech, a symphony of anguish and malevolence that tore at their very souls. The entity, once powerful and threatening, now found itself ensnared by the ancient artifacts and the strength of their combined will. But the confrontation was far from over. The entity's spectral form seemed to twist and contort, as if fighting to break free from the shackles that bound it. The teenagers held fast to the incantation, determined not to be swayed by the creature's attempts to deceive and intimidate. As the ritual reached its climax, time seemed to slow to a crawl, as though the fabric of reality itself held its breath. The mansion trembled, and the ground beneath them quivered like a heartbeat. In that crucial moment, the line between success and failure blurred into a thread of uncertainty. In the depths of their beings, they clung to hope, pushing past their own fears and uncertainties. The artifact's energy swelled, intertwining with their intentions, weaving a spell so intricate that even the very cosmos bore witness to their resolve. And then, as quickly as it had begun, the blinding light subsided, and the room fell silent. The mansion, once gripped by malevolence, seemed to exhale a sigh of release, as though relieved of its tormentor. The entity that had haunted their every moment, that had driven them to the edge of madness, had dissipated into the void. Exhausted but victorious, the teenagers emerged from the mansion, their journey of redemption finally complete. Their hearts heavy with the price they had paid, they felt a sense of closure, knowing that they had succeeded in banishing the malevolence they had unleashed. With the mansion now standing silent and still, the town remained oblivious to the horrors that had transpired within its ancient walls. The teenagers, bound by an indelible bond forged in the crucible of darkness, vowed never to speak of the grimoire of eclipses again, understanding that its forbidden power must remain hidden from the world. As they departed Whisperbrook, the weight of their experiences remained etched in their memories, a chilling tale that they would carry with them for the rest of their lives. Yet, their hearts were now tempered by resilience and wisdom, for they had confronted true darkness and emerged stronger for it. Their journey had come full circle, and though the scars would never fade completely, they had found their way back into the light, forever changed by the sinister summoning that had reshaped their destinies.